What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk to you about billionaires and how they fit into society, and how the current social stigma and media stigma against billionaires may actually be misplaced and may be based off misconceptions that can be quite easily addressed. There's a common misconception at the minute about billionaires due to misrepresentation in the media and due to media kind of hype that essentially tries to make billionaires out to be incredibly terrible people and the scourge of the earth. Now, as much as I'm not advocating that all billionaires are fantastic and that they've got to their position by being perfect and not harming anybody, I don't think billionaires are quite as bad or quite as ludicrously outrageous as the media make them. So one thing that the media like to fantasize about and essentially try to confuse people with is this conception that billionaires, their net worth is essentially their spending money. So this is something that the media post quite often about, and in fact there's a Metro Twitter thread that was all about trying to spend Jeff Bezos' fortune. But what this was trying to do essentially was confuse people into thinking that Jeff Bezos actually has $200 billion to spend, and that this man has this much income that he can just send out and do whatever he wants with. Now, this is a misconception because actually the significant majority of Jeff Bezos' worth is in stocks and shares, especially in the shares that he owns in Amazon as their founder. Now, I'll go into this in a bit more detail in a moment, but I just want to highlight that net worth does not equal income and certainly doesn't equal spending money. And in fact, the majority of billionaires and most high-up millionaires actually don't have anywhere near the sums of money to spend that we picture that they do. So this misconception that net worth, or that the billionaire's amount of money that they have to spend, is actually their income and is equivalent to what we earn from our jobs, for example, as ordinary people, is something that is also further pushed by the fact that financial literacy and basic understanding of financial literacy is not taught at school. So I know plenty of very educated people who still come into the conversation about billionaires thinking, well, Jeff Bezos has $200 billion to spend, he could just spend it and fix world hunger and things like this, when actually it's not possible for that to happen, and there's quite a few reasons why. Chief among which is that if Jeff Bezos tried to liquidate all of his assets and get as much cash as he could, then he would essentially cripple the world's financial markets. So going into the Jeff Bezos example, because at the end of the day he's the richest man in the world and the one that is most focused on by the media. So Jeff Bezos is worth $200 billion. Now that is a very, very ridiculous amount of money. However, the majority of this comes from his 11.2% share in Amazon, which is a $1.7 trillion company. Now this means that Jeff Bezos' worth from Amazon alone is $187.3 billion. So what that means is that he owns shares in Amazon which are worth that amount of money. He cannot, at this point in time, cash in those shares and just spend that money. So that is $187 billion that he has completely tied up that he can't liquidate. Then further on top of that, he has an additional $10 billion that is invested in other companies that he's interested in. For example, Airbnb, Grail, Twitter and Uber. He then also owns Twitch, which is approximately $1 billion, and owns the Washington Post and Business Insider, which are both about $250 million. So as you can see, it quickly stacks up the number of things that are actually tied up in shares for a billionaire. He then has a real estate portfolio worth $225 million. Now obviously this is significantly more than the average person, and it is one area where you may question why someone needs that much in material assets. But if that property is being rented out to other people and is not just for personal use, then actually it can be benefiting other people and not just himself by providing these properties to different people. On top of that, he has a private jet which is worth $66 million. Now, this is one of the key expenditures which really is very difficult to validate. Of course, you get the exclusivity and the luxury of not having to travel with other people and being able to use private airports and things like this. But commercial flights are so successful that really I don't see a need, especially with things like first class on amazing airlines, that there is no need for people to really have private jets other than to have it as a status symbol or a show of power. So that's one area of spending that perhaps billionaires and multimillionaires could reflect on and not do as much of, which is the elaborate overspending just to show off their wealth. So if you sum all of those expenditures and all of the assets that Jeff Bezos owns that I've listed, then that leaves you with roughly $1 billion left. Now $1 billion is still an absolutely monumental sum of money. However, I'm sure there are plenty of undisclosed investments that Jeff Bezos does, which takes that number significantly down. And in fact, it wouldn't be surprising if in terms of actual real spending money, Jeff Bezos was in the tens up to a maximum of maybe a few $100 million. Nowhere near the $200 billion that the media likes to sensationalize over. So circling back to the Amazon valuation of $1.7 trillion. Now, if we take Jeff Bezos' chunk out of this means that Amazon as a company has provided over $1.5 trillion of value to other people. So from a pure cash value perspective, the amount of money Jeff Bezos has in his net worth completely pales in significance compared to the amount of money that Amazon brings to the stock market and brings to everyone around the world. On top of this, Amazon employs 750,000 people worldwide. If Jeff Bezos didn't exist, if he didn't have such a big stake in Amazon, it may not have got to the position where it is today. And through those decisions, that many people may not have a job. So it's one of those things it's really difficult to place an exact value on. But Jeff Bezos having that high percentage ownership of Amazon leading to his high net worth steers Amazon in the direction it has gone in, resulting in 750,000 people around the world having a job. On top of this, 49% of all e-commerce around the world is done on Amazon. Now this is really significant because this means that not only does Amazon provide value in the fact that it is a huge company, but everyday people are using Amazon so much for their online shopping that they are getting the value out of it too. At the end of the day, if Amazon didn't exist and if Jeff Bezos hadn't led it the way it is, then you wouldn't be able to go on your phone or go on your computer and quickly order something for next day delivery through Amazon Prime. Now, one thing that is typically highlighted quite often is the low tax that Amazon pays. And this is something that a lot of people are really, really annoyed with. Because of course, why should we pay so much tax when these billionaires and these huge companies don't pay tax? But the issue is that it's not the billionaires and the companies that have the problem. It's the tax system itself, which prioritizes and allows those who are self-employed or who own companies to kind of meander their way through tax loopholes. So this again highlights the whole point of this channel, which is the financial literacy, which is that yes, Amazon pays very low tax, and a lot of major corporations around the world in fact pay very, very low tax compared to the everyday person. But this is a result of two key factors. It's one, that we are not taught at school how to correctly manage our taxes and how we could reduce our individual tax bills. We just rely on HMRC doing the job for us and getting it right. And two, that the tax system and structure is somewhat biased towards people who are self-employed or who own corporations, as they can make the use of those legal loopholes rather than just assuming that HMRC is doing the right thing for them. So really, it's much easier to get annoyed at the tax system than it is at the billionaires who take advantage of that system. On top of this, it's typically highlighted that the charitable donations that the wealthy give are not significant enough compared to how much they own. But actually, if you look at donations as a percentage of net worth or as a percentage of annual salary, the top 1% give no more or no less in terms of percentage of this salary than anyone else to charity. They are roughly equivalent to everybody else. Now, of course, you could say, yes, but they earn more money, so they should be giving more because they have more to spare. But then that holds wealthy individuals who've worked hard in a very difficult position where we could keep asking more and more and more of them without them ever really seeing any benefit. So I believe that whilst they do donate a significant amount, I think that actually wealthy people donating the same percentage of their salary as everybody else is all that you can really argue for. On top of this, it's crucial to highlight that several of the world's richest people have signed up to what's called the Giving Pledge. Now, the Giving Pledge promises that these people will give away 50% of their net worth, or over 50% of their net worth, to charitable causes before their death or in their will. Now, this is really, really significant, as it means that a total pledge of $1.2 trillion for charity has been made by the richest people in the world. This includes a very long list of very famous people, including Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates. Unfortunately, one person that isn't on the pledge yet is Jeff Bezos. However, he has given away a total of roughly $13 billion to charitable causes. So as much as you may look at the current situation and their individual donations as not being significant enough versus their net worth, several of the richest people in the world have actually pledged to give half of their wealth or over half of their wealth to charity, which I don't think is something that could be said for many people around the world. So this all boils down to, are billionaires inherently bad? Now, I don't believe billionaires are inherently bad. I believe they bring far more value to society than they take, and that they take advantage of legal systems which benefit them, for example, the tax system. One thing, of course, that is a caveat to all of this is that billionaires become bad once they start doing illegal things. So whether it's illegal tax evasion or whether it's through abusing workers' rights. To get to that position of billionaire, I think then, obviously, is a very difficult situation, and then billionaires should be vilified, and in that situation they are wrong. But for the most part, billionaires are crucial to society because they're essentially the people that have spearheaded companies which are now worth so much and bring so much value to everybody else around the world. The whole reason billionaires exist is that they had ideas or they founded companies which have brought the world to the place it is today. So actually, I think that we could all learn from billionaires because they are a fantastic example of financial success. Most billionaires, although some of their spending habits, of course, can be a bit crazy, but most billionaires have lived incredibly clever financial lives to maximise their money and to maximise their profitability. And that's something that we could all learn from. I think that learning from billionaires from a financial standpoint could actually be very useful. So I think the main reason that people don't like billionaires is in fact to do with media coverage and the stigma against them in the media, and is actually promoted through the lack of financial literacy. Because the less you understand about finances and net worth and how billionaires are actually crucial to society, the more likely you are to just look at this outraged media, take it on the chin and say, yes, Jeff Bezos does have 200 billion, why isn't he spending it to end world hunger? Whereas if you drill deeper into the story of that 200 billion and how it's actually built up, it becomes much more obvious that it's very, very difficult to liquidate that much money and to use it for the good that we believe it could be used for. So that's my take on the situation. I'd love to hear what you think about billionaires and what you think about everything down below in the comments. Leave a like if you did like the video, and if you are new around here, please subscribe, it really helps. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.